Are you recently out of a toxic relationship and you can't make decisions? Do you find that you just go along with whoever because it's easy? Well, you aren't alone. Watch this video to understand why you don't know what you want anymore and how to get your willpower back so that you can make decisions based on your choices. For weekly updates on healing from a toxic relationship and getting on with your life after leaving, subscribe to my channel. The link's below. Indecision and indifference are typical experiences after we leave a toxic relationship. However, both of these get set up and created inside the relationship long before we've ever left. So indecision often leads to indifference. So this video provides insight on how we become indecisive. We'll talk about steps to take to begin reconnecting with knowing what you want and how to take action based on your desires and your needs. I help people regain their willpower by identifying and then acting on what they want after they have left a toxic relationship. So, my book, Get the Fuck On With Your Life Healing After a Toxic Relationship, addresses loss of willpower and other symptoms that hold us back from our own lives and helps us reconnect once we've left a damaging relationship. How did we become so damn indecisive? Well, first of all, before you got in the relationship, it is likely that you didn't really have a lot of strong preferences. Let's call it easygoing or laid back or what have you. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. However, when we get involved with a manipulator and we get conditioned to defer to them, and when we have a nurturing and also a laid back kind of nature, manipulators use that against you. You will start being met with resistance, criticism, and opposition every time you voice your choices or preferences. As you start to speak up or offer, your input, it's not going to happen. You're going to be met with negative feelings, negative behaviors. So that's the first thing. Second, when your partner, is always selecting an option outside of what you've offered, this basically can cause you to feel overwhelmed, and it can kind of cause you to freeze up because over time, if everything that you say, even when you're asked, what do you think or what do you want, every time you open your mouth, you are criticized or dismissed, or they always turn in. It's like they use you as a gauge to go the opposite way. That becomes very demeaning, and it makes you feel very small, and it's overwhelming. So, again, indecision is created when you're met with resistance and criticism and opposition. Your choices, are rarely being met or respected or honored. So you then start to change your behavior. So you choose options that you know that they will always pick because now it's easy. So if you see a pattern, for instance, in, something very simple like picking a restaurant, and you've probably thrown out everything under the sun, and they kind of stick with, say, 3 or 4, then you become conditioned to respond to their question, what do you want for dinner, with 1 or 2 of the choices that they're going to go with. And watch how funny it is, because even when you offer what they like, they're still going to pick the other options. It's very rare that they'll go along with what you say. So now we're picking things that are easy. Why is it easy? Well, you don't have to defend your choices. You're not going to be met with as much criticism, maybe being dismissed, because you're offering selections that are already in their pool. So ultimately, you're going along with what they'll want. You don't feel dismissed and you don't feel disrespected. So that's how indecision, gets set up. Now, if you've left a toxic relationship and indecision and indifference are showing up for you, please leave a comment below. So now that we know about indecision, let's talk about indifference. So when your decisions are undermined repeatedly, you become indifferent. So not only are you now totally deferring to the other person and their choices, and offering, your opinion as a reflection of what they typically like, that starts to spread out into your interactions with everyone. So now indifference has set up a disconnection inside of you where you no longer not only know what you desire, you don't have the ability to act on your desires. You're just like trying to avoid any conflict. And again, from that being a self-protective mechanism to not feel dismissed and, criticized, this further breaks down your connection with your own, preferences. Step one in overcoming indifference: move your body. So there is no more effective way to reconnect with who you are than to put yourself in motion. This gets you out of your head and gets you into your, body. And also, when you just don't give a shit, moving around actually will restore your connection with yourself. You would be surprised at how being active moves stuck emotions and stagnant feelings. And when we are really, you know, just feel checked out, activity will like boost your mood and it will help your inner voice come back up. So it kind of gives you this kind of push and lifts you out of like a depression or a negative state, or again an indifferent state. So being active, clears your mind and it helps you renew your energy. So the importance of activity, and something simple as walking can really make a huge difference. So just to share, I basically started walking around the block. That was the very first piece in my healing journey after leaving a toxic relationship. And that led to, so many other pieces down the path. But I couldn't have even gotten to any of them if I had not just started moving. Activity will really help you get out of that, like, not care state of mind, and it helps break down, that block that you have between yourself and what you really want. The key to activity, though, I need to emphasize, is consistency. If you do it, once a month, you're not going to get anywhere. But if you consistently get up and move yourself in some way that's enjoyable for you, something that's not, painful or arduous, something that, you actually will look forward to, this will create a path of communication within yourself. So you'll begin to hear your own voice again. And when you hear your own voice, you start to identify your preferences, and then, little by little your desires start to show up, and that block that you put in place is no longer needed. And so your unique spark of life will start to, it'll be reignited. Okay. Step two in overcoming indifference: pause before you agree with anything and say no sometimes. And here's why. By pausing, you give yourself a moment to check in with how you feel about something. And saying no, simply not going along with something, or, options offered to you, will help you kind of see, where you are. So if you get an autopilot behavior of being agreeable, pausing gives you a moment to kind of bring that decision to yourself. If you've gotten into the habit of going along with something so often that you don't even know if you do like it, just say no sometimes and see how it feels without it there. So I know this seems so simple, but you may find it very surprising the level of difficulty it is to take a second or just straight out say no when your input has been, dismissed over a period of time. When you start to, you know, do the opposite of this patterning, it may be, maybe uncomfortable at first. So, give it a try. Number three, revisit things you previously enjoyed. So, just what did you used to do? What was it that was enjoyable for you, either before the toxic relationship or even while you were in the relationship, and you always kind of had like a longing for. Maybe you stopped doing a certain activity or probably seeing certain friends or family, because that happens. So just remind yourself of what it was that used to bring you joy, and things that were for you and things that made you feel good, and revisit those. Maybe you still like these things or maybe not, but the point is this is a start in getting in touch with how you feel now. So now you know how indecision and indifference get set up within a toxic relationship, and now you understand why these things come along once you've left the relationship. And we've talked about the 3 ways that you can start to overcome indifference and start connecting with what you want. Part of you, that makes you is going to start speaking up again. But again, consistency is the way to this. It takes time, consistency, and effort. You have to take an active part in your healing. I mean, you over time will heal the wounds, but to really get your life back and to overcome doubt and fear and to flourish again, that takes your presence. So, um, so if you haven't already, watch my other videos in this series of 5. This is all about symptoms of leaving a toxic relationship. If you like this video, feel free to share or like the video, subscribe. So hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching.